Hey guys, thanks for watching. Today we're going to be talking about the Sig P938 and the Kimber Micro 9. So before we start on that, if you want to support my tiny little channel, there is a way you can do it, and it's buy this book. My brother recently published this book. It's a really good read. I'm not a reader, and I enjoyed it very much. So I'll leave a link in the description below on how you can find it, and please go ahead and pick it up. It's a good read. Probably it is a lot better than this review is going to be, or the comparison video, if you will. So go ahead and check that out. Anyways, we're going to get into the weapons, and I'm going to try and just kind of work from top to bottom here. Starting with the Kimber Micro 9, we're going to get on the sights real quick. Okay, so the sights on the Kimber Micro 9, this model specifically, right? Came with a 2-dot rear and a fiber optic front sight. Pretty cool sight picture. I know most of the Micro 9s come with pretty good sights, so good on them for that. The Equinox model of the P938 comes with a set of 2-dot night sights and a fiber optic front with a night sight insert, and that's probably about as good as you're going to get out of the box. I mean, it's an awesome sight setup. Not my preferred sights, but definitely good out of the box. And then we're going to talk about slides. We're going to get into the slides and the barrels real quick. The barrels are carbon steel, I believe. Very accurate. I mean, the guns are definitely going to be more accurate than you are. That's for sure. They are very well fit. You can't really get any wiggle. When the gun's locked up, you can't wiggle the barrel at all. The barrels are extremely well locked up. So definitely going to get good accuracy out of these. They're very smooth. Obviously, as you can see, there are not any front serrations on this handgun, but I can easily do my LARPing press checks, as some people call them. Just really easily manipulated slide. So very smooth, very smooth. The Sig is just as smooth, really. Very good fit and finish on both of these handguns. Before I get any further, I'm going to discuss round counts and all that. The Kimber is my wife's carry gun, I know, but the round count on this is about 400. We put some Hornady critical defense through it to make sure that it runs. She carries the 115 grain stuff, and some MagTech, some Minuteman, and yeah, mostly MagTech though. And we've only had one malfunction. It happens to be the first round I ever fired from it. And I freaked out because I was like, man, I already knew that these were finicky handguns, right? So the first shot malfunctioning on me, it was a failure to extract. I failure to eject, I'm sorry. And it just, I got livid because I thought that was what I was about to see from this handgun pretty much nonstop. Turns out that wasn't the case. It was the only malfunction. So that's good news. This one is my brother's handgun, and me and him are range buddies, so we're always at the range together. So every time he brings this out, I shoot it, and it's only got about 200 rounds through it, maybe 250 at this point, but it hasn't malfunctioned yet, and that's a good sign. That means that there's very likely to be a malfunction anytime soon. But keep in mind, these are not high round count guns in the sense that you can just go beat the shit out of them. All right, like they're not going to last as long as like a Glock 43 or a Smith & Wesson Shield or something like that. They're just not going to last that long. So, put enough rounds through them to know that they work, and I guess just train with them every once in a while if you intend to carry them a lot. So every time me and my wife go to the range, she shoots it, and we make sure it still works, and she gets some training with it. But anyways, that's the round counts on them. We'll get back into the actual, talking about the handguns. So going into the frame a little bit here, we've got a right-handed only safety, which isn't a big deal to most of y'all, but I'm a lefty, so it's kind of a big deal to me. The Kimber Micros do have models that come with ambi safety, so if you are left-handed like me, you can find them. The safety on the Kimber Micro is very smooth. I was actually very surprised with it, very easy to actuate, no problems out of the safety at all. So that's good. What really matters is being able to turn the safety off when I need to, but it's good that it's smooth enough to where you can operate it both ways. The Sig's is a little bit tighter. It's still very, like, obviously I'm left-handed, so it's still very easy to turn it off, but turning it back on, it is a little tighter. It's loosened up, no problems with turning it off ever, but it definitely had to loosen up a little bit before we could turn it back on. So that's something to note. And obviously it is an ambi safety, so that's good. I think that's good on them. I think that should be a standard now. I'm sorry, but left-handed shooters kind of buy guns too. So I think that if you're not going to put it on their standard, you should always at least have a model that you can find out there with an ambi safety or something like that. I think that should just kind of be the way it is, in my opinion, at this point. I think we should move on from the right-handed only stuff, right? But I know I'm the lefty here, not y'all. We're going to get into the grips. I know everybody wants to see the trigger, but we're going to get into the grips first. So the Kimber Micro doesn't have anything on the front strap. That kind of sucks, I'm not going to lie, because they're really small guns. So when you're shooting them, the recoil, all that, it can be kind of hard for my wife to hold on to it at times. But I haven't seen that. It hasn't been a problem for me, but it would be nice if there was some checkering here. But there is some mild checkering right here. It's not super fantastic, but the gun's so small, it's pretty easy to get a really good grip on it. The actual texturing on the grips here are pretty good. They're not bad. I wish it was a little bit better, but they're not bad. It doesn't tear up my wife's hands at all, so she likes them. The Sig's is actually doing better on that department, so it has a pretty good little front strap checkering, and then it has pretty much the same rear strap checkering as the Kimber Micro, and there's a little bit, the texture is kind of the same on the actual grips themselves, but with the front strap checkering, it is considerably easier to grip this pistol. But this model did not come with a magazine that had a extended base plate, so base pad or whatever. So it's really, it's hard to get that pinky on there. I have to really squeeze. So that's definitely going to be a problem for a lot of you bigger-handed guys. But they sell models with the extended base pad. This one just happened to be sold without it. Whereas the Kimber has the extended base pad, and I think that's pretty much standard across the Kimber Micros. Getting into the magazines real quick. The magazines are they're probably the weak point on the gun. Let's be real here. If you're going to have any reliability issues out of these guns, both of them, the magazine is probably the culprit. From what I've seen, they've had to do some pretty weird stuff, I think, to make these magazines as small as they were, and obviously fit 9mm. They're not terrible, but they could have been tuned much better. For instance, if I was to load a round into this gun right now by chambering it and then try and drop the mag afterwards, a cartridge would fall out with the magazine. It runs it fine. Like, it's going to shoot the next time that when I pull the trigger, it's going to feed it, right? But that's a tuning issue on the magazine. That means that the feed lips are not sitting, they're just not quite tight enough to keep the cartridges in place on the magazine super well. Who knows? Maybe the fact that the magazine's loose like that is actually what's making this thing run. I don't. All I know is that's not what you want in a full-size 1911. So take that for what it's worth. I mean, the gun works, so I'm not going to complain too much. The magazines on these two guns are actually they are interchangeable. I don't know if they would run reliably, but they do lock into place and come out freely. And it goes both ways. Here's the Kimber mag and the 938. So it goes both ways. They work in the guns. So there's that. I mean, I don't think it's going to matter to anybody, but it is something to note. They're virtually the same. I mean, like there's very little difference when you line them up. But there's that. This is a 6+1, so a 6-round mag. And then this one, because of the extended base plate there, is actually a 7-round. So 8 in the Kimber, and 7 in the Sig 938. Like I said, you can get magazines with an extended base plate for the 938, and there are models that you can buy that come with the extended base plate for the 938. So keep that in mind. I would suggest it, honestly. I mean, like they're obviously you're going to take away some concealability by putting that on there, but ergonomically it is just going to be far superior. Ergonomically, these guns are pretty much almost exactly the same. In all reality, they're very similar guns, but ergonomically they feel like a 1911 kind of. Obviously, they're really small, but the grip angle and all that jazz is definitely 1911. So ergonomically, you're probably, if you're a 1911 guy, you're probably going to feel pretty at home. And if your wife is super into 1911s, she's going to want to buy it. So keep that in mind. That's how I bought one. So there's that. Triggers. We'll go ahead and get into the trigger now because there's not a whole lot. Oh, wait. They both have a bevel in the mag well, which is kind of a moot point because I guarantee most people that are carrying these handguns are not going to carry an extra mag. However, I strongly suggest that you carry an extra mag with these. I really do. I strongly suggest that. Not because I think that you'll need, you probably won't need more than 8 rounds, but these mags are the weak point in the gun, and I think it's probably safe to carry an extra one in case you're having problems with this one. I know. Could be a moot point, but most of y'all probably are just going to carry with the 1 mag inserted. So also with the extended base pad on this Kimber Micro 9, you got to be careful. If you're reloading and you leave your palm right there and you try and reload, you can easily pinch yourself while reloading. So that's something I learned. Just keeping that in mind. We'll get into the trigger now. The Kimber's trigger is very good. It's very good. Okay, it's heavy. It's a 7-pound trigger, but it is very good. So I don't know how well it's going to translate. I wish I could give you guys a better view, but this is the best we got right now. So when you get that tiny bit of take up, you can see my finger just barely moving there, and that's the wall. It helps if I turn the safety off, but that is the wall. I mean, that is it. The wall is very tight. There's very little movement, if any at all, and then the trigger breaks. It is heavy. It's a 7-pound trigger, but it is a very good 7-pound trigger. So the reset, very short, very short. It is everything that you expect a 1911 trigger to be. So good on Kimber for making their tiny little Micro 9 have a good trigger. Sig 938, kind of the same thing, except it's lighter and a little bit grittier. Okay, so the take up is a little bit longer. You see all that mush that I'm getting there, and then it breaks. It's lighter though. Okay, I think this is probably closer to like it's probably somewhere in the ballpark of like 5.5. It's close to 6, right? And then the reset is a little bit longer. You can tell, right, than the actual Kimber Micro, but still very good trigger. Still very good trigger. It's a little bit lighter than the Kimber Micro, but it, again, a little bit longer take up and a little bit mushier maybe, and a longer reset. Still very good trigger. Accuracy wise, I can do some pretty good work with both of these handguns. There's absolutely, I think as far as handguns in this size, these are probably the most accurate that you're going to find for just general shooting, right? I think as far as general shooting goes, I think most people are going to find themselves way more accurate with these 2 handguns than like a Glock 43 or Smith & Wesson Shield or something like that. So that's probably the upside to these handguns, honestly. That's probably the reason why most people may want one of these is because of the fact that it has a really nice trigger on it. And I think that most people will find they're much more accurate with these handguns than, say, a Glock 43. So I guess now that we've gotten through all of the features of it, I guess we could talk about why you might carry this at all, right? Like, honestly, I wouldn't carry one of these. I just wouldn't. But if you were going to, how would you and why would you, right? It's not a home defense gun. It's not going to flex into that. It's not going to find its way in there. But if you absolutely have nothing else to carry, right? If you say you need to tuck in your shirt or something like that, you could definitely do it with this. You can get a tuckable holster and carry this, right? So it does that fairly well. So why would you get it over, like, I don't know, a Glock 43? Well, the trigger. The Glock 43 is going to be by far more reliable, and you're going to be able to put a whole lot more rounds through it without trouble than this, right? So there's that to consider. But I mean, shootability, this is probably going to be better, right? I mean, like, the trigger alone is going to make you a more accurate shooter with this handgun. But the reliability is really going to be a turnoff for a lot of people. Like I said, it's been a while since since they released their Micro 9 and since the p938 has come out. So they've been able to work out a lot of the kinks people were having problems with a couple years back. So it has come a long way, but it's still inherently going to be a less reliable weapon than a Glock 43 or Smith & Wesson Shield, or even the P365, right? I mean, the P365 has its own issues entirely right now, but I say give it another year, and that's going to be just as reliable as, like, a Glock 43 or a Smith & Wesson Shield. I mean, time will tell, right? But I think another year in that gun will probably be on par. So, again, this kind of fits a very specific shooter, in my opinion. I think if you're a 1911 fan and you need something smaller, then this would feel at home for you, right? Like, you naturally would want this over something else because maybe you're just, I don't know, that's your home, right? So why would you carry this over a revolver, right? So a compact revolver. So there are a lot of really great hammerless revolvers, and every time you pull the trigger, you can pretty much be rest assured it's going to work. So I'm not going to get into any of the actual lethality debate, but if you're interested, I think that you should really watch the Military Arms channel new video that came out a little while ago where 9mm Spanx 38 Special. You should watch that. There's a lot of really good information on that video, and I think that might help you understand why some people would rather get even this over maybe a revolver. But to give merit to the revolver, I would not pocket carry one of these without a holster. That's my opinion on that. I would not pocket carry one of these without a holster. And honestly, I don't think I would pocket carry it with a holster even, because I think that revolvers lend themselves. Hammerless revolvers, I think, are just much easier to draw from your pocket than a semi-auto. My opinion. I understand some people may not feel the same way about that, but that's definitely my take on that. So that's something where the revolver is definitely going to shine over these handguns, is that the pocket carry is something that a lot of people like and a lot of people would do with a revolver, where you might not do it with one of these. But again, this gun still has merit because of the fact that, honestly, the recoil impulse is going to be a little bit easier to handle with this gun. And the accuracy that you can actually maintain with it is by far superior to any of those hammerless revolvers. It doesn't matter how much training you do with one of those revolvers. There are very few people out there that could pick this up and shoot it. There are very few people out there that can pick up one of those hammerless revolvers and shoot it as fast and as accurately as I can shoot one of these. I mean, and the people that can do that are phenomenal shooters. Rest assured, they're way better shooters than I am if they can do that. So definitely still has some merit. I can see why some people would want it. And if you're looking at either one of these handguns, I think that they're so similar and there's so many different models from each brand that could fit your needs if this is like absolutely what you want, right? That I think that you probably would be, you'd be hard pressed to make a bad decision at this point, right? I mean, they're very similar handguns. The differences are very small. There's some ergonomic difference, right? Like the Sig's got a little bit more of a blocky grip, right? But I mean, they both are able to, you're able to manipulate the slide with the safety on and the hammer down. They both can do that, right? So good on them for that. I think that that's pretty cool I think that's a pretty cool update. You know, I mean, it doesn't really matter too much to me, but I know that matters to my wife. I know my wife feels more comfortable messing with it when the safety's on. So good on them for that. They're both inherently very accurate handguns. So honestly, if this is up your alley, so if these two handguns are up your alley and you just can't pick one, and that's why you're watching this video, I think that my official answer is that you wouldn't be making a bad decision picking either one necessarily. I'm going to lean probably more in the direction of neither. I wouldn't carry either one of these. I like to shoot them. I mean, they're fun guns to shoot, but they're not my cup of tea per se. That being said, if they're what you're into and they fit your bill, I think you're going to make a good decision either way you go. The Sig 938 definitely has a whole lot more options. They're pretty competitively priced. I don't think either one of them can be pointed at and said that they're specifically more expensive, because each one of them has models that are like way expensive. Like the 938 now has a Legion out, so you can pretty much guarantee that that's going to cost money, and I bet you it's pretty great. But both of them are going to be relatively expensive for their size. What's up, buddy? Let me get you off. Anyways, I can't think of anything super great that I can say about either one. They both only came with one mag. The Sig came with a holster. It's a very bad holster. Honestly, I would rather that they decided to not give the holster and just give an extra mag. Just saying. I think that's my biggest complaint with these guns, is that they came with one magazine. Big issue on my part. I think I'm pretty sure I already said it, but if I didn't, I think the standard should be 3 magazines whenever you buy a gun, but no less than 2. You should at the very least get 2 magazines when you buy a handgun. It's just my thought on it. Anyways, if you have any questions that I didn't answer on these guns, go ahead and comment below. I'll get to you as fast as I can. Please like and subscribe if you liked what you saw, and please check out my brother's book, The Harrowing. Very good book. Thanks for watching, everybody.